Welcome to Money Convos, where we discuss personal finance and investment tips. We're committed to helping people create wealth and achieve financial freedom. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Clubhouse, and Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube and podcast. All right then, let's head into today's conversation.
Hello everyone, good evening once again, and welcome to Money Convos. Tonight we have a very special episode planned for you, the title being The Quiet Path to Wealth. Sounds very interesting, and we'll get right into it in a bit. Let's hear how Adam is doing. Hi Adam, how are you doing?
Yeah, hello Dennis, I'm doing good. Yourself? Yes.
Our boss has also joined us here. Hi, Elikem, how are you?
Hello, Dennis. Hello, Adam. I'm good. Hey, your boss. What is Prince around? Because I can't see him. He's our guy at the top.
Oh, if Prince is not around, you are there. We are respecting the hierarchy.
I beg them all day there. It's only you I'm above in the chain of command. Everybody else is small boy. But anyway, I'm doing good. How you also doing?
I'm doing great.
Wonderful. Nice. I have a few minutes at work, and I said, let me just tune in to join in this conversation. It's an interesting one. It's sad I'll miss the whole show, but yeah.
Okay. So initial thoughts. I think today's topic is very interesting because we often hear about people when they get money at the pinnacle of their careers or at the pinnacle of when they have a lot of wealth, but we don't really hear about their journeys. And when they start to recount the steps they took to get there, most of the stories, it's through boring investing, through saving for a long time. It takes time to make a lot of wealth, and a lot of people are not privy to some of this information. So today we are seeking to, educate people about what it takes to, or in terms of other people's stories, what it took for them to get to where they are today in terms of getting wealth or getting financial security in their own words, and the little things we can take from their stories to implement in our own very lives. To get to financial security, we may not get the wealth that these people have or get to the levels where they've reached, but at least there will be a point in our lives where if we implement all these strategies, we can reach a point where we are financially secure, financially independent, and can take care of all our needs. So I think that's the general theme for today's conversation. And I don't know, Adam, whether you've asked this question earlier, but I would like to ask what the main topic means to you. When I say the quiet path to wealth, what comes to mind first?
Okay, so I asked that question for Elikem has answered, but it's my turn to also answer. So the same thing like Elikem also mentioned earlier. When we normally talk about wealth, we sometimes think about it's being out there, being flaunted or in your face and what have you. But like looking at this topic and even dovetailing from the thread, and I think there was also a YouTube video. I would also try and bring out the link for that, where on the Ramsey show they were discussing they have this millionaire theme where they talk to ordinary everyday millionaires, and you see a thread or you see a particular trend that runs through that a lot of these people are just ordinary everyday people, nothing flashy about their lives, but they are financially stable, free. And then you see the thing that comes to mind is how most of these things happen over a long period of time. So that's what comes to my mind. And then even the discussion, putting it into perspective, if we are looking at, let's say, a millionaire, what is a millionaire? I think that is the natural question that might follow next. Okay. It's like basically just someone whose net worth is more than $1 million. I mean, that's if you are talking in dollar terms, hopefully. So that's basically what came to my mind when I saw the topic. Yeah.
Quite interesting. You do mention a lot of important points. Stability, freedom, it's happening over a period of time. And we took inspiration from the article shared in the description or in the reply. So you can read the article too and take some insights. But for our conversation, we'd like to generalize things a bit. Not everyone views financial security as $1 million. Everyone has their own perspective of being financially free. What financial security means to me might not reach Adam's level. So we would like to go more generic and think about the things we can also implement in our daily lives as normal people doing normal jobs. So Adam, okay, let me say this. In terms of examples of stories of people who have built wealth quietly, anyone that has read Psychology of Money would remember the janitor. It was called Ronald Reed. And that was the very first example that came into mind when I read the article. It contrasted him with another billionaire who went to an Ivy League school, had the very best job at one of the best banks in the world. And it shows the journey this janitor took, saving over some 60, 70 years. And people didn't find out about his wealth until he died. And he instructed all his wealth to be given to a local charity. And that was a real life lesson of how quietly people can build wealth in our world. And he wasn't doing anything exceptional. He was doing the little things, saving, investing in stocks. It was boring for him, nothing exciting, no exciting returns. But then he took advantage of compound interest, and it grew into a lot of wealth, which he later donated to society. And he was remembered as a hero. And so that's one very example that comes to mind, and then that inspires me a lot. I don't know, Adam, if you have any story you've read, or someone you know, or someone who has built wealth quietly. I don't know. What comes to mind?
Oh yes, there are quite a number of people that I know personally in my life, and who I've seen. Like, I look at them and I see that these are just regular people, just like all of us. There's one person, a woman. She's late now, but she barely had any education. And but she was industrious. She was hardworking, and she used to sell in the market, and basically did a lot for herself and her family, even though she basically was like a single mom. And so I've seen people build from what you would be shocked, like what they are able to do just because of their little habits. Because one thing I knew about this woman was that she was a saver. She was someone who was not a spendthrift, and she was able to always anticipate the little she understood about investment. In her own way, she was able to make some strides and some steps, so that way into her old age, she died a very old woman, and way into her old age, she was not like dependent on her children or something like that. Basically, for what she should eat and how she should live her life, she was able to basically take care of herself and even other people's children, even in her old age. So I've seen these kinds of things happen with people, and this is somebody who is not educated. So it has not much to do with the fact that you are educated or you are not educated. It was a matter of some of the steps that they took once they were earning some genuine income, and the decisions she took as she was going along the way. Yeah, so that's for me was an inspiration. That lets me know that, look, irrespective of where you are, once you take a decision that you want to make a change, you can start working towards it. Yeah.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Elikem, do you have anything to share? Do you have any experiences
Yeah, then it's just to clarify on the question, is it about like what is my idea of what wealth is, or
So, not that, but basically, have you heard any stories? Do you have anything you've read about people basically building
oh,
wealth quietly?
okay, yeah,
Any stories?
yeah, I do know one. I think I may have shared it here some time back, but I'm in a group and I met someone, and he's quite interested in financial things. He likes doing stock trading options, just I call it gambling with his money, but he has enough of it to be playing around, day trading, all that good stuff. And one time he came and he was like, "Oh, today I had a conversation with my financial advisor. If I'm to retire now, I'll be okay." And he wants to retire before the normal retirement age in the US. That's 65. And I think at the time we were talking, he was 58. Yeah, he was 58. So he said he's just gonna work a few more years and then retire. And I asked, so he shared how much he has in his nest egg, or his retirement nest egg, $1.4 million. If you see this man, even the t-shirts that he's worn to a somewhat serious meeting, you would not think about it. This is someone. So I asked him, like, how did you get to that point? And he's like, he really didn't do anything fancy, didn't do any crazy investments. All he did for his nest egg is he just maxed out the retirement, the allowable retirement contributions. For example, in the US, there's a 401k, there's Roth IRA, all those things. He just maxed it out. And I think as of the time we're talking, he must have thrown an amount like around that time. That's around 20,000 a year. And another thing that struck me was that he said he's never really had a managerial role in his life. That means he's not been so high an income earner. He doesn't have a flashy job. Like the place that we were, it's not like there are big companies around there that you think, okay, even somebody normal have some serious job in a serious company. Like he's a pretty average guy, drives a Subaru, normal. He said he compares with his family, his friends, and when they were taking trips, they were doing all those things. He was just trying to stay modest and just max out the tax advantage accounts, and that's all. No, not necessarily any extra savings, nothing. And he's all good. So yeah, he said he could have reached that point even 4 years ago. He had wanted to retire 4 years before, but then he and his wife adopted a child, so they had to pause those plans. So yeah, it's slow and steady can win the race. Making it relatable to us in Ghana, it's about destined is by law. You don't really have a choice, but that gives you some sense of insurance, right? Then there's the tier 2. That one you can do it. Tier 3, you can even do even more. To pay less taxes, to make sure that money is going into your future. You don't those ones you don't get to touch them, so you are fine. So yeah, I think that's a relatable story.
That's very, very interesting. And we will get to the topic about patience very soon, but I would also like to touch on the topic of luck, because when you talk about wealth, you can't escape the discussion about luck. I was having a conversation with a friend, and I mean, the conversation was, you could make all the plans about your money and everything, but you can't escape what can happen to you in the future. And then sometimes luck also plays a role, because opportunities come some way of others, and then it doesn't come at the way of others. And it was a very big controversy between him and I. So Adam, I would like to ask you, how much do you think luck plays a role in our journeys to wealth? And if it plays a role at all, how do we position ourselves to take advantage of those opportunities?
Well, that's an interesting question and a very good one at that. Will I say, well, luck? I believe that, I will call it grace. It plays a role anyway, but I feel that virtually everyone will have opportunities thrown at them at different points in their journeys. That's how I would like to see it, more of like opportunities rather than luck. I would say many people will have opportunities thrown at them. Okay, but even if you don't find yourself as that lucky one, as maybe some people would want to say, I believe that once we go through the discussion and we talk about some of the habits and everything, if anyone should be able to just embark with these habits, I think you should be good enough without the elements of what people would attribute as luck. Because I think that even if you will find yourself being lucky and some of these habits and these characteristics or disciplines are absent, you might eventually be in the wrong place. So eventually, I believe that yes, there's some level of luck or something, but I think for the average person, the average Joe, if you should just take advantage of your opportunities and then you just make sure that you stay consistent with the habits and the necessary discipline, you would be able to arrive at the destination that we are all looking at. Yeah.
Very interesting. Elikem, your thoughts on luck? Does it play a role in wealth creation?
Yeah, luck is one word I really do not like hearing. I don't like hearing it at all. Not just in terms of wealth creation, in terms of career, in terms of anything. Because there's not much anyone can do about luck. Either you are lucky or you are not. Okay, today you may be lucky, tomorrow you may not be lucky. It's just the way of the world, right? But then there's something that I prefer to rely on or to hold on to, which is our part to play in any kind of situation. I know somebody who could have been in, who would be in a situation that anyone would say is lucky, and yet doesn't make the best advantage of it. For example, imagine you are going for an interview and for some reason you get the questions for the interview ahead of time. Not deliberately, but like whoever is practicing with you practices with a good set of questions that the eventual interviewer would draw on, so you've had enough opportunity to practice it, but you go into the interview and you flunk it. Would you say you were not lucky? You were very fortunate. You had good opportunity, so there's that. There's also times and seasons. For example, those of us who left Ghana to go to school, for me, the time I went to school, I left in July 2022. And then in August, the city did what it did. If I had slacked and left 2 months later, instead of buying the dollar at 8 CD, I'll be buying it at like 11, 12 CD. Does any of us have control over that? No. All you have to do is just do your part, be ready. Okay, just do your part and be ready. Also, the job market. Some people were in school during COVID. It was a tough time, but after COVID, a lot of corporate jobs became available, and then they got nice jobs. 2 years later, 3 years later, now there is no more sellers market in the labor force. Now it's a buyer's market. People are getting laid off. People are losing their jobs. If you are finishing school now, times and season is not favoring you. But what can you do? You should just put yourself in a situation where you are very competitive, such that in any tough time you fly high. When the tide, there's this saying, when the tide falls, or drops, then you see who's swimming naked, right? So it's really about just being prepared. And I guess a last thing, a quote that I'll refer to is when people say that if you are not prepared, you even see opportunity when it comes. But for the prepared, they see the opportunity. But for the unprepared, they think there's no luck, there are no opportunities. You can make opportunities when you are prepared. So it's all about being prepared for me. But yes, there's God factor, there's grace, there's times and seasons, but let's just focus on what we can control.
Very good points there. I think the part about preparation is also very key. You must be the right person in the right moment and at the right time. And speaking about preparation, I would like to also speak on the power of consistency and patience. We've spoken about how people took their time, invested for a long time, and then reaped the benefits in the end. Adam, how do you think patience plays a role in wealth building? What do you think? What are some of the things that can test our patience in those periods? Have you experienced any? You can share your thoughts on that as well.
Oh, yes. As for patience, it's very, very, very necessary in this journey because there's no real quick way. If you are interested in a quick or fast way to wealth, you might end up risking everything and find yourself wanting at the end of the day, because there are going to be a lot of fluctuations along the way. And you talked about consistency. Eventually, even if you look at the compound interest, the power of compounding, and you run the models, okay, using specific interest rates and periods of time, you notice that mostly in the beginning, maybe for the first 2, 3, 4, 5 years or something, the kinds of interest you would be making is so small. And it's that period that can be very discouraging, because you don't seem to see anything happening. Yes, you are investing, you're putting aside all these monies here and there all the time, but you don't see so much of a return. But if you just keep projecting and you move to, let's say, 15 years, 20 years, and sometimes by the time you realize, for every year at a point in time, you see leaps and bounds, because by that time, your interests have compounded and keep compounding and keep adding on. It's the same thing. That's the whole thing that tells you that your patience is very, very important, because if you just start in the beginning and then you get tired, you might miss out on all the benefits in the end there. So patience is very, very important. If you look at any farmer at all, farmers are kind of the most patient people you can think about, because what they deal with has to go through a process. And that process at a certain time doesn't look like it's beneficial, but at the end, it's the harvest that is very, very important. So patience is key in this journey. And all the examples we've been looking at, for most of them, you see that they came into wealth status after years of consistent investing, years of consistent financial discipline, years of consistent working hard, improving themselves and all of that. So you cannot discount patience at all, because if you are in a hurry, you will chase after anything, and anything that comes your way, you just run with it, and you might end up falling for scams or putting your money into risky things that you are not prepared for financially or even psychologically. Yeah.
Very good points there, Adam. And there are various examples of investors who have been patient enough to wait things out and have reaped the results. Most times when we read about the Warren Buffett, the Charlie Mungers, our excuse is, they were in one of the top countries, one of the best performing economies, and our economy is not that way. So, I can't say for the long term, but the truth is, those basic concepts, they work everywhere. Once you're able to save a little that you have over a period of time, continue investing over a period of time, you reap the results. But I think for most of us in our part of the world, because of several problems that we have, we've not been, especially in our part of the world, the education we receive, we are not taught to think long term about building assets, about building wealth for ourselves. And so we think too short term, and we miss out on some of these very important stuff. And speaking about thinking short term, there's also the lifestyle choices part as well. Lifestyle choices have a very huge impact on the wealth we are building. Elika mentioned an example earlier about a man who was a bit frugal with his money. People were going on trips, or maybe they were going on more trips than they should be on, but then he was trying to save the little that he has for, you could say, rainy days, and it built up into a huge, maybe you could say, retirement fund for him. So Adam, I would like to know your thoughts too. Do you think being frugal with your money, especially in our part of the world, let's make it relatable, being frugal with your money in Ghana, it's a bad thing? Do you think there are misconceptions about frugality here in our part of the world, and how do lifestyle choices impact our wealth building generally? Any thoughts on that as well?
Yes, that's for frugality. It's what does it mean to be frugal? It just means that you are very intentional and you are not a spendthrift. You are you are like you really think deep about how you use your money. And I believe that anybody who is frugal means that you are sticking to a budget, and you are not being excessive in your expenses, and yeah, you are just making sure that you are living within your means. That is basically what frugality is about. Okay. Now, you would have people who would push back on your lifestyle because maybe we are in a particular space and we are all trying to do something, or you see people trying to do one thing or the other, like maybe a number of people are taking vacations here and there, but you can't afford it. So you are minding your own business or something. That kind of pressure can be there. And there's all these misconceptions because people see it that, oh, income levels are low. People, I'm not earning enough. And in fact, the fact that your income level is low and you're not earning enough is even more reason why you need to be frugal more than the average person who is probably earning a lot. Because even look at the situation we find ourselves now as a country in terms of the cost of living crisis and all that. How can you afford to be by heart with your money? Because even if you have planned, you have budgeted, you have done everything, it seems not to even balance in the end of the month. So how do you then live your life just anyhow? I wonder how people are able to manage living just like that. But it's very, very important to be frugal and to be intentional, because money is harder to come by. And so you should be careful how you spend it so you don't misapply it into areas and later be feeling that, where did my money pass? Okay, so being frugal is a very important aspect of the journey, because you have to be sure what you are using your money for. Dave Ramsey always says this thing that nothing happens without intentionality. Nobody wins a medal just by accident. Nobody passes an exam just by accident. You are in school the whole semester, you haven't studied, you haven't done anything, accidentally you pass. I mean, it doesn't happen. You have to prepare. If you are running a race, you have to prepare. So the same with our finances. If you are going to be successful, you have to be intentional. You have to prepare. You have to stick to a plan. You have to be very particular about what you are spending on. Else you will not accidentally arrive at a destination and say that, hey, I bumped into wealth. That doesn't really happen. Okay, maybe just a few people who might end up inheriting some large amounts of money. But for the rest of us who don't have people who die and pass over wealth of millions to us, what then do we do? Do we raise our hands in despair? No, it means that we have to take our destiny into our own hands and then work towards it. And that's, for me, where the frugality comes in every step of the way.
You mentioned some really good points there. So the part about the inheritance part hits me, because a lot of people, there are no assets for you to inherit. And because we run very cultural families, or the cultural system in our country, you may be in a family, but because maybe you're on the mother's side and the family inherits on the father's side, you're not getting anything. So a lot of dynamics play around, and you may not stand to inherit anything. So it's very important that whatever comes into your hand, you hold on to it well. And we are not saying you don't spend. You are a person. You can spend. You should spend on yourself. So maybe the question would be, okay, how can I strike a balance between enjoying life today and securing my financial independence? And it's very simple. And these millionaires have been doing it, alongside investing heavily. All you need to do is to try to budget for every single thing you do, no matter how small. Budget for enjoyment, budget for relaxation. Even when it is impromptu, try to do a small budget and do some small maths and make sure you are okay. And also, after trying to budget for your relaxation and enjoyment, also try saving and investing for the future. So you spend small and also save small. That's how you live. But if we make the excuse that what we get is not enough for us and we have so much to do and then so many people depend on us, we can't save even a small portion of it. And I've been saving for 2 years and I'm not seeing anything. That's a lot of excuses I hear a lot of my friends make, and they don't really make sense. They don't really make sense. So you can strike a balance between living now and then saving for the future. All you need to do is to plan well. Make a simple budget for yourself. If you don't know how to make a budget, that's fine. At Money Convos, we have templates that we share, and we can share this after. If you DM, we can share a budget, simple budget template with you to help you budget small. You can tailor it to your needs, and it will really help you to strike a balance between your needs now and then your future needs as well. Also, there's also the important part about societal pressure. So, I mean, this is mostly tailored to the youth. Get rich quick schemes. People are now use most of their savings for betting. A little money that comes there, they are gambling and all of that. So, Adam, how do you think societal pressure, and you can also make this relatable to our country as well, how do you think societal pressure and the desire for instant gratification, I want money quick, it affects our pursuit of wealth? Does it help? Does it really?
Okay, so I'm saying that as for pressure, it runs throughout your life until you die. And so it's not really about just young people, but it is throughout, because you would realize as you go along the line that the pressure is the form that changes, but it is a constant. And at a certain level, the pressure is about certain things. At other levels, it's about a different set of things, but there's always going to be that pressure. So as for societal pressure, if you allow it, it will direct your life, and it might direct you in certain directions that you are not going to be happy with. Okay, so that's why we always keep referencing the Ramsey show, because we hear a lot of things and nuggets from the, it says what, live like no one else so that you can live like no one else. That's basically what your theme should be, or your motto or your catchphrase for your life should be, that you are going to live like no one else. So you know what you want to achieve with your life. You know the sacrifices you need to take or make so that you can achieve that goal for yourself. So just stay in your lane and do what works best. Stick to the plan, work at it. Just have that balance between living in the moment and at the same time planning for the future. And let go of whatever pressures that may come. It's not as if it is easy, but you have to keep reminding yourself that you have a goal and a plan ahead. Okay, and that should be your motivator. That should be what should ginger you. Because if you would want to impress people or fall for the pressure, you would be surprised that the place the pressure is coming from, they are not really, really bothered about you like that too. But you are the one giving yourself pressure. You are trying to impress some people who really don't care that much about you in the first place. Okay, so just you are the one who is the cheerleader, and you are the captain of your life, and the one who is leading the plans for yourself. So work hard at it and move one step at a time, because there is always going to be changing standards at a certain stage. Maybe as a young person right now, you've come out of school, you're looking for a very nice house, a nice car, or something to buy. You want to settle down with and have a very beautiful, flashy wedding. And then when children start coming in, you say, "Oh, which school do you want?" There's always going to be that pressure at every level. Then when you've worked for some time, hey, I need to change my car. All my peers are using this type of car, and then you are always trying to match up. And then it gets to a certain age. Oh, you are now trying to put the pressure on your children, because now my children have to be at this level and all that. So it is going to be there all the way until you die. So if you allow societal pressure to get you, you would make choices that may not necessarily be the best for your life. Okay, so that's why it's important to always have a goal and a plan for your life. And once you have that big picture and you know where you are going to, it doesn't matter what you are seeing around, but you are working hard and you are moving towards it. Okay, so it's very, very important to stick to the plan and not go kowtow or bow to the pressure. It's not easy because we are flaunting. You come on Twitter, you see it. You go on Instagram, there's pressure. You go on Facebook, wherever you turn, WhatsApp, people's statuses, different things. But behind all those things that you see, you don't see the background stories. So it's not a good thing to look at it and then pass judgment based on what you see. It's just the face of it. You don't see what is behind or even what people say. People even pass some very ridiculous takes on here on Twitter. We see and we read every day. And sometimes you ask yourself, are you sure people, everything is okay? But some is for clout. Some of it too is people who are mentally or off. Others too are also genuinely lost and ignorant in their thinking. So you can't allow all these things to be the ones that will direct and shape your life. You should be able to know for yourself what you want and then stick to it. Yeah.
Very interesting points there, Adam. Very interesting. And so if you let the fear of missing out on things drive you, I mean, you are putting yourself in a real danger. So not just in terms of getting the latest gadgets or the flashiest car or whatever is new in the system, but sometimes it could be an investment opportunity. So you could say, okay, I'm taking your advice, I'm investing. But sometimes they pitch you an investment opportunity and you don't feel, well, this investment opportunity doesn't feel right. But, there's a fear of missing out on some opportunities to make you rich very quickly, and then we jump into it. And we've had several stories of some of these situations happening in Ghana, and sadly it keeps happening because people refuse to learn. And so it's very important that you don't let societal pressure drive you. You don't let the fear of missing out on the recent things drive you. Stay patient, stay consistent. Remember, I think we've had a conversation here before about investing. Should investing be boring or exciting? You can check it out and go up to Spotify and then search for Money Convos. We talked about investing being boring, being long term. Sometimes it's not always exciting. There isn't always something flashy on there or something trending on the market that will make you very quick money. But you just have to go with the system, invest the little you have, you will get some returns year on year to compound, and then give yourself some time and it will all go well for you. So you should always remember to stay clear of some of these pressures. And so, Adam, wrapping up, what would be your one advice to someone who is starting on their path to creating their own wealth? Say someone who is now out of school, or someone who is now discovering that they need to build wealth for their children and for their future generations, no matter their age, no matter the stage in that they are. What's one advice would you give to them?
Yeah, Dennis, I think first I would congratulate them on the decision to start, because it says the best time to plant an oak tree was 10 years ago or 20 years ago, but the next best time is now. So if you decided or you are making that decision today that, hey, I want to put my house in order, I want to start this journey and being intentional about my finances and everything, then congratulations on that awakening and the decision to start. One thing I would say is that it's going to be a long ride, but then just enjoy it as you go along the process. It's going to be difficult, but keep the goal in mind. Once that goal and that broader picture is always in your mind, it's always a motivating factor. Eventually you would get to the finish line. Okay. And this thing about this type of race is that we all have our own race, unlike maybe the 100-meter race that was at the Olympics, where there's supposed to be a particular winner who will be crowned. This one, we are all running our own race, and each of us have our own destinations we are going to arrive at. And that is defined by ourselves. So it's within our own context and our own power in terms of what we want to achieve. So just stick to that plan, think long term all the time, just know that it's going to be a long, boring journey, but there are also going to be interesting aspects of it. There'll be ups, there'll be downs, but eventually it will pay off. That's one thing I'm sure about, that eventually you will be better off. We might all not become Jeff Bezos or maybe a Dangote or something, but we would all find ourselves in a place where we know we are financially independent and stable. And that, I believe that once we take that step now, we would begin to change certain things about even our family tree or our family and the generations that are yet unborn.
Thank you so much, Adam, for the wise words. It's been really exciting and insightful having you speak on these topics. If you would like to read the article that inspired this conversation, you can check the first reply. It talks about how a large population of Switzerland, the population of Switzerland are millionaires, but we decided, let's make it generic. Let's talk about the basic things that we can also apply in our lives to make our financial lives better. So you can check the first reply to read that article as well. And next week, we will be having a similar conversation to this. We'll be covering the last episode of Ramit Sethi's TV series, which is How to Get Rich. We'll be covering episode 7. And it will be very exciting to see how the characters have all developed from episode 1 till this last episode. So you can watch the episode, join us here on Money Convos same time next week, and discuss with us the lessons you learned. And you never know what you might pick up from someone as well. And if you would like a friend to help you start this investment journey, when you get to Instagram, you can search for investment_friend. And there we run savings challenges, investment challenges to help you get started on your financial independence journey. And these savings challenges and investment challenges have helped a lot of people. And there's a lot of content developed every day, every week to help you learn some of the basic things to help you stay abreast about the financial markets, investments doing well, and how you can also save for the future. So when you get to Instagram, don't just go and watch your reels and then leave the platform. Check out investment_friend and secure your financial future as well. And if you would like us to cover any other topics in the future, remember you can also DM us. At Money Convos, we have financial conversations with no strings attached. No matter the topic, as long as it's money or finance related, just DM us the topic. Any topic you don't understand, we'll cover it here and you understand it perfectly. And so thank you so much, Adam. Unfortunately, Elikem has left us, but thank you so much to our guests too. I see Mr. Alidu, Bright, Prime, and Eric also joined us. They've been through with us the whole of the conversation. So thank you so much for joining us. And we hope next week you join us as well. And hopefully come on stage to share your thoughts with us on How to Get Rich episode 7. So you can check our profile very soon. We'll be sharing a link to watch the episode. It's actually a free link. You can watch the episode there and then join us on the conversation. So thank you so much for everyone for joining us this evening. And until we see you next week, have a good night. Bye-bye.
Thank you for taking the time to listen to our thoughts. I hope you learned a thing or two and start practicing. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Clubhouse and Facebook. And subscribe to our YouTube and podcast. Do tell a friend about Money Convos so we all become wealthy together. Talk to you soon. Bye.